Hi everybody and welcome back to another Legends of Runeterra video. So today's going to be a little bit different of a video. I wasn't sure if they were going to be revealing any more cards today, and at the moment it doesn't look like they are. It looks like most of the cards are going to be already revealed for this next expansion. We may have something halfway through like we did this last one with the KDA cards and a couple of new cards that will be coming. They kind of mentioned, I think, before they even released this whole set that they would have cards in between I guess the initial expansions. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we get a couple more like the KDA ones, but until then it looks like we have what we have, and yeah, I think we're pretty much done. So today what I'm going to be doing is going over a couple of deck concepts that I am probably going to be trying first this expansion, and we're going to be starting off here with Piltover Zahn and with Victor's cards themselves. The champions, and I think like my sentiment is kind of held between like with a lot of other YouTubers and content creators and Legends of Runeterra players in general, that the champions and cards released for Call of the Mountain have been somewhat underwhelming. And as compared to something like the Rising Tides, there just hasn't been a lot of new innovation, and a lot of kind of the same types of cards have been revealed. We've got landmarks and stuff and a couple of new ways to play around and build different decks, but for the most part the Call of the Mountain has been somewhat I guess just of a letdown. Yeah, I mean, that doesn't mean that we still can't have fun or that I still don't have fun making new decks. I was just expecting a little bit more variety and innovation in the cards that they were revealing. Yeah, and I'm not alone, like I said, in that sort of sentiment. There's a lot of people that have that same impression. So, yeah, I'm not particularly excited, like super excited. I mean, I do want to make decks around Victor, Zoe, and Riven, but for the most part, not overly excited about the champions that were released. But yeah, so today going to go over a couple of deck concepts that I've been thinking of, and yeah, let's go ahead and start out. So the first one that I want to build is around Sejuani and the Ballistic Bot. I kind of mentioned this in a comment when this video was initially released. We're going to have to kind of, I guess, mess around with it a little bit, but the concept would be a Teemo deck with Ballistic Bot, Sejuani, and then by virtue of having the Ballistic Bot, we get Ignition. This is a turn 2 play, so there are other cards that take up the turn 2 play for a Sejuani Teemo deck, and usually that's either Mushroom Producers or something like the I can't remember the 2 cost overwhelm card from Freljord that is going to allow us to deal damage to the enemy nexus. But the problem with that card is that you can only basically get 1 use out of it, 2 if you're lucky. And Ignition Bot, it's like the concept of this is cool because at every round start you're creating an ignition in hand. So this is every round, defense and offense, you're going to be getting this ignition where you can deal 1 damage to the enemy nexus, which is awesome. And this is going to, if you mulligan pretty aggressively for Ballistic Bot in this sort of deck type, this is going to let us level up Sejuani super fast. Now we still have to end up playing 1 mana in order to actually deal damage here, but yeah, not only does this work with Sejuani, this is going to work with Gangplank and pretty much any other plunder card that we have out there. I think with Sejuani and her kind of plunder cards, what we got, we have like the Wolf Rider, we've got Shared Spoils, and the Tusk Raiders. The problem with those cards is that you couldn't consistently, while including Sejuani in the deck, you couldn't really consistently include those in decks because it was hard to actually deal damage on your defensive turn. Now this isn't a problem because we've got Ignition and we've got the way to do it. I guess like Sejuani already pairs pretty nicely with Piltover and Zahn. This is just adding another layer that's going to help her level up even faster. And if we end up including Teemo and Mushrooms, then we're just going to be able to, once Sejuani gets out, you're just going to be frostbiting like pretty much every round. Alright, now along with that, and could possibly be in the same deck, but probably not, I do want to build a Teemo deck around this Hex Core Foundry, where at the round start all players draw 1. I don't know that Teemo necessarily has the problem with running out of cards, but a lot of his cards and followers and the cards that synergize with him are pretty low mana cards, and so it is kind of easy to run. Now, we do have quite a bit of card production with Teemo, though, with the mushrooms. So you got like Clump of Wumps, Chump Wump. They're all producing puff caps and mushrooms in hand, so it gives you more cards to play and use your mana. It is possible to run out of steam, though. And Hexcore Foundry not only is going to help you replace the cards in your hand and let you draw extra, it's going to also force your opponent to draw into puff caps, which is really cool. This kind of synergizes well with things like the Chief Investigator, where we're going to be able to compound draws and just force our opponent to keep drawing cards, drawing more and more cards, and dealing more and more damage to themselves with the puff caps. If we have a reliable way to protect Teemo, if we have a reliable way to get a whole bunch of puff caps into our opponent's deck, then this could be a super powerful card to include in a Teemo deck. Pairing the two possibly with Ionia, where we have some protection for our champion in Teemo, that might be the way to go. It could bring back kind of a Karma Teemo duo, where we can deal extra or do extra like spells and have the Puff Cap Peddler down as well and get more and more mushrooms and puff caps and be able to stall out the game and control the game, which is super just a very tantalizing card or deck that seems like it would be really fun to play. Alright, and on to the third deck that I want to play. What would any deck concept or any deck creation be without a super toxic trolley deck? And I really want to build a deck around the pesky Spectre. This could be a super fun card to play around, especially if you got kind of the cards to back it up. It is a very interesting concept where we have this card that's going to be replacing our enemy's deck with, well, not replacing, but including more of these cards into the deck. So like in meal decks, this could really mess up it could really mess up uber draw decks where they're trying to draw their cards or the cards that they need, for example, the Go Hard deck. If we're saturating the deck with other cards, it's going to be less reliable to draw Go Hard. But yeah, the thing about this deck is that once you put the pesky Spectre into the enemy's deck, then they have them, and then they can in turn play them and put them into your deck. And so it's kind of funny. It's like even more anti-meal, like the ability to just kind of create these pesky Spectres that are never going to go away, and it's like compounded too because there's 2 copies, so there's like no way to get rid of them. If it was 1, then we're just replacing the draw with 1 card, but where we've got 2 cards, it's just, just even more pesky Spectres in the deck. Now, it's kind of easy to, not easy, but you do have to build around this in a way with your ephemeral cards. And the one ephemeral card that actually works really well with the pesky Spectre is going to be the Shark Chariot, where it doesn't really matter if we end up pulling, extra copies of the pesky Spectre. Every time we attack with it, we're going to be also attacking with our Shark Chariots. Another good thing that the pesky Spectre has that the Shark Chariot doesn't is that it can actually block. It has the ability to block as an ephemeral unit. Anyway, yeah, it just seems like the Shark Chariot is the best working card with the pesky Spectre, possibly with something like the Soul Shepherd as well, where we can buff this guy up and get extra damage. Hecarim decks even. This is definitely a troll card, but that doesn't make me, want to, like, it doesn't dissuade me from making a deck around this card. This definitely reminds me of the what's it called? The Stone Warden in Demacia, where we can kind of create decks that synergize really well with what we want to do, and then at the same time it negatively affects our opponents and how they build their decks, or how they have constructed their decks. So definitely want to do a pesky Spectre. Anyway, yeah, go ahead and tell me what decks you guys are excited to build this upcoming expansion. If you've got any suggestions, I'll definitely look at them and try to create decks around them. Coming up with different ideas and just having different deck concepts is definitely a good thing for me, just because it gives me more content and more ideas to actually build around. And as you can probably notice at the end of the current expansion, you do kind of run out of steam and ideas and get kind of bored with the cards. So the more kind of ideas that I get, the better it is, because my own ideas will kind of extend into the future and be able to create more content for longer periods of time. Alright, anyway, yeah, if you enjoyed, don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will see you tomorrow. Thanks.